Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Mike Francesa Podcast on the BetRivers Network, brought to you by Casamigos Tequila. Casamigos Tequila is brought to you by those who drink it. We come to you on this Saturday morning, early into the Saturday morning, on the Mike Francesa channel on the BetRivers Network on YouTube. Now that the Elite Eight is set, and it is as chalky an Elite Eight as you could possibly have, 7 of the top 8 teams in the country that were seeded 1 and 2. All 4 1s are alive. 3 2s are alive. Ironically, the one team in the top 8 that is not here is St. John's. You have a 1 versus 2, a 1 versus 2, a 1 versus 2, and a 1 versus 3 in the matchup between Florida and Texas Tech. So chalk has prevailed. So if those of you who love to pick one seeds or love chalk, you got it in this tournament. As Houston, on what was a night where they have to go in and thank their lucky stars because, yes, they were playing what was really a road game against Purdue in Indianapolis. They knew that going in. They said they didn't bother them. They played great on the road. They don't mind that. They like that. Fine. They played an awful game for Houston. If you had told me before this game that Houston would turn the ball over more than Purdue, I would have thought you were nuts. I would have thought that Houston would have been plus 10, plus 12 in turnovers. They were minus in turnovers this evening. They didn't make key foul shots, and their leading scorer, who had scored 45 points in his 2 NCAA tournament games, was the leading scorer this year, Cryer, and at 30 points against Gonzaga, had a nightmare tonight. He didn't score in the first half. He went 2 for 13 in the game, and other than hitting a 3 with 3 minutes left that put them up 5, he didn't do anything in this ball game. And I think that was one of the reasons that they weren't able to put Purdue away. Purdue also did a very good job, and give them credit with their spacing and their movement. And they made Houston pay for their aggressiveness on defense because the one thing Purdue did do was they moved the ball well against the Houston defense. And the Houston defense is really good. But Smith had 15 assists. He assisted on every basket in the second half, and he hit guys for open threes in the game and hit guys for open shots. And Houston doesn't usually give up a lot of open shots. They did in this game, and Houston got a very, very good game from Houston, who had 22 points, including the game winner. Always remember that the out of bounds guy, the guy who's inbounding the ball, the guy who's out of bounds, who's inbounding the ball, is always extremely dangerous to get the ball back and score. As you saw it there, he stepped back in, got it, and laid it in uh, as the play on the baseline. Purdue couldn't keep their board closed. We knew that was going to be a problem, that they were going to have a problem on the offensive glass. Houston had 12 offensive rebounds. Not a big number for them. Uh, Purdue, I thought, did a good job. Houston was the better team, but on a night where your leading scorer, see, in this tournament, when you're in trouble, your big scorer has to step up and take over. And Cryo was nowhere to be found tonight. And I give Sampson's a terrific coach, but I thought he did a terrible job in not getting Cryer established in the second half. Get him going to the basket, get him some screens and some open, easy shots where you could count on him down the stretch. And really, he was a non-factor except for that 1 3 that he hit. He went 2 for 13 from the floor and did not get to the foul line once all night. This guy who had 30 points against Gonzaga. They were lucky to survive, and they did. The game got tied at 60. They got the ball. They held it for a shot, a bad shot, just to show you how far removed they were from going to Cryer tonight. When Cryer set the pick for Houston, he didn't even give the ball to Cryer. He basically said, "I'm going to take it myself." He took a bad shot. Luckily, the ball went back to them with 2.8 left. They got the inbound play. They scored, and they held off Purdue, and they get to play Tennessee in the early game on Sunday. Here's your 4 games on the weekend. Florida, Texas Tech is first tomorrow in the 6 o'clock hour. Duke will play about 10-9 against Alabama, which will be a fun game. They both hit 100. Duke hit 100. Alabama hit 113. Um, that'll be a fascinating game. Alabama's Duke's a solid favorite, 7.5 point favorite. Florida's a 6.5 point favorite. Okay. Houston is going to be favored against Tennessee, but not that much, slightly. And then Auburn's going to be a pretty fair favorite, probably 6 or 5 or 6, I would think, maybe even 7, but somewhere about, I would think, somewhere between 5 and 6.5 against a good Michigan State team. So that's what we're left with. 7 of the top 8 teams are here. Um, I will get you the updated BetRivers odds on the 4 games before we bid you adieu. I don't have the Sunday lines up yet. Auburn basically wore Michigan down. Michigan played really well and then hit a wall. And basically, that was it. I mean, they got outscored like 30-8 in the middle of the second half, and just, Auburn ran away and went from being down 8 to up 13 and got themselves a 13-point win. Tennessee had lost to Kentucky twice this year. Now they handled Kentucky rather easily in this game today. They're a legitimately good team. Hey, before the tournament started, I told you there were 7 teams that could win the national championship. 6 of them are here. The other one was St. John's, and they're not here. The other 6 teams I thought of were here. They're all still here. So it's been that kind of very chalky tournament, as we know. You had Arkansas was the only double-digit favorite in the Sweet 16, and they're an SEC team with a lot of talent. They just had a rough year with injuries and new year for Calipari. So Texas Tech's a legitimately good team. There are no weak sisters here. These are all very, very good teams. And I can tell you right now, you go in this, if Alabama shoots the lights out and beats Duke, maybe you're going to be a little surprised. You're not going to be stunned. If Tennessee wins a hard fought game, and remember, they were in this game last year against Purdue and got beat. Um, if they get beat Houston in a tough defensive, really pounding game, which is what that game's going to be, 64-62, are you going to be surprised? No. If Texas Tech beats Florida, you'd probably be surprised a little bit, but you shouldn't be stunned. Texas Tech's a good team. And if Michigan State and Tom Izzo beat Auburn, you're not going to be surprised. So none of these 4, although Auburn and Duke and Houston and Florida have earned the right to be favored, you would not be stunned if any of these teams beat them. There's no huge underdogs here. There's no double-digit underdogs here. Anybody could win any one of these games. You have to have respect for every one of these squads. You're going to get a tough, rugged, defensive, bang the boards, possession by possession, hammer and tong game with Houston and Tennessee. You're going to get a shoot the lights out game with Duke and Alabama, where the winner will probably be at least with 95 points, maybe even 100. Texas Tech has the bodies, which Maryland didn't, has the bodies to play Florida. They're going to be a little smaller than Florida, but they have some size inside, and they have guys who can play in this game, led by Toppin. And Michigan State can play with anybody in the country. Auburn's had a great year. They've hit a rough patch. The second half tonight was the best they have played in the NCAA tournament, led by their big star who had a big second half. And frankly, you wouldn't be shocked. Right now, the updated, and we're waiting on the Sundays. Florida is 7 and Duke is 7. These are the updated BetRivers lines. Florida is a 7-point favorite over Texas Tech tomorrow. Duke is a 7-point favorite over Alabama tomorrow. And we're waiting on the two Sunday games. The first game Sunday will be Tennessee Houston. The second game will be Auburn and Michigan State. And then we will have our Final Four. And away we go. Elsewhere this evening, Mets get a win to even their season at a 1-1. They get a well pitched game. They get a game where they give up 1 run, 3 hits, walk 4, strike out 10, get a very good, orderly bullpen game, the kind of game you want. 5 innings from the starter, bing, 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 into the closer, goodbye. So a very rote game for them. Soto goes deep, gets his first homer on the board. So after 2 games, he has a homer, a single, and 3 walks in 2 games. So, those of you who are looking for him to, get off to a terrible start or crash and burn, that hasn't happened. Lindor always starts slow. Some guys always start slow. And Lindor, you can almost count on him to start slow. He always does. Tomorrow, it's Canning versus Arrighetti in the Met Astro game tomorrow night. Tomorrow afternoon, Cortez against Fried in the Yankee game at the stadium, 1 o'clock. And it's supposed to be beautiful tomorrow, as a matter of fact. I'm going to hit the golf course. It looks like tomorrow. My rule up here is 60 for golf, and it looks like we are going to get 70 tomorrow. The range is 47 in the morning to 77 in the afternoon. So check it out. Could be a little rain this overnight tonight and a little gusty, but tomorrow 47 to 77. Back into the 50s on Sunday. Rain on Monday with 60s, and then not great Monday and Tuesday, Wednesday, in the 50s and 40s. But tomorrow, enjoy it. Looks like it's going to be 75 or 77 degrees tomorrow. So that's warmer than it would be, I believe, in Palm Beach tomorrow. I don't even think it would hit 77 in Palm Beach tomorrow. I could be wrong, but wouldn't be surprised if that's the case. Let me see. Just for argument's sake, tomorrow in Palm Beach, it will be 79. So not much difference. So warm here tomorrow. So go on and get out as March starts into April in the next couple of days. And if you're heading to the stadium tomorrow, you got a nice day. Take the kids to see the Yankees on an early season game. So the storyline tonight, without any question, was Houston in a hostile territory against a Purdue team that was prepared as best they could against that Houston defense to play. And I thought overall listen, they didn't. If you asked me for a number, Purdue has turned the ball over all year. They did not turn the ball over tonight. And I thought that was the reason why you didn't get, Houston got a 10-point lead and then came down, a couple of bad possessions. They didn't have a go-to guy because Cryer was giving them nothing. So you have other guys taking shots they shouldn't be taking with 5 minutes left in a 10-point lead. Next thing you know, they're tied at 60, and then they get the basket to win the game. So Houston survives the last 1 seed. The other ones won. Duke won comfortably. Florida won going away. Auburn won going away. And Houston won a white knuckler by 2 points against Purdue, and move on now to the regional final, where the headline is 7 of the top 8 teams are there, and the lowest team remaining is a 3 seed. So you have 4 ones, 3 threes, 4 ones, 3 twos, and a 3. Can't get any more chalky than that. And quite painfully and quite ironically, the one team in the top 8 that's not here. I know it's painful because what we had hoped for was that tomorrow we would be hoping, I should say, just praying that St. John's would be playing Florida for a chance to go to the Final Four. This season should have ended that way. It didn't. It ended on a tough note. They've already added a swing player out of Arizona State who's going to help them, no question, who was one of the top players so far in the portal. So, no, from Arizona State. I just heard that the New Mexico guard Dent, who's a really good guard, he didn't have a good game in the loss to Maryland, but everyone thought he'd go to Xavier. Follow Patino there, he went to UCLA. So you never know where the money's going as this ridiculous process continues. To have the portal open, first of all, the whole process is nuts, but to have the portal open during the NCAA tournament is the most ridiculous thing I've ever seen, and it just shows you how completely out of control. There are no rules right now. This is the Wild West when it comes to college sports right now. You can basically do whatever you want. There are no rules. There are no boundaries. Nobody can look at you sideways. Everything now, the cash is now above board. Now it's not under the table anymore. It's above board. It's not hidden away somewhere, covered up. The car's in somebody else's name. The job is in somebody else's name. The money's here. No more. Now the money's right there. And where this goes, who knows? None of it makes any sense. When you hear things like that, the Big Ten is thinking of selling a 20% stake in the conference to a venture capitalist. Think about that for a second. Think about that. What control does any governing body have? What control does any college president have when venture capitalists are going to come in and take over part of the conference that you belong to? I mean, give me a break. And, all this talk about the ACC and the Big East merging in basketball, these, you know, insanely big conferences have no charm. They water down rivalries, they create ridiculous travel, and they create games that have no tradition, no value, and all it does is produce big amounts of cash. And a lot of the schools that can't compete, that ran into Division One to get a piece of the pie, will now be bolting Division One, like St. Francis, which just made St. Francis, Pennsylvania. St. Francis of Loretto just made the NCAA tournament. Great honor for them. Made the NCAA tournament, and then just said, "We're going to Division Three." Why? Because they can't compete for players. A lot of these schools, even Big East schools, there's Big East schools that can't compete. So if you're going to continue to have a basketball program, you might have to go down and play Division Two or Division Three. I understand it's no longer the whole pie in the sky and the NCAA tournament and all the charm and all the money and everything else, but there's the haves and the have-nots, and that's it. That's the way this thing is going to be played now, and it's a mess. There's no question, and it's chased a lot of coaches, a lot of good coaches, out of the game, and it will chase more out. And uh, I've had conversations with coaches who've gotten out, and they did not find this to be anything they wanted to be a part of. So, hey, it is what it is. You rent a Cooper Flag. He's a one and done player, even in the old system. But now you bring him in, you have a year, and then you let him go off to be the number one pick in the draft. And he is a special player. If you haven't seen him, maybe you saw him the other night when he had 30 against Arizona. Check him out this weekend. Check him out as Duke plays for a right to go to the Final Four. He is a special, special player, a unique player, a freshman who has a kind of polish and a presence that you never see. I remember Purvis Ellison having a brilliant game in leading Louisville. I think he had 23 and 12 in the championship game, if I remember right. And we've seen some freshmen have great performances, but the command that this guy has over the program, over the team as a freshman is, and the completeness of his game. The last link was to make the shots, and now he's doing that on a better case. And you saw him the other night, put up 30. That's not usually what he's tried to do this year. He's tried very much to keep everybody else involved and score like 16 and fill up the box score. But in these games, do not be surprised if he goes off for 30 or 40 as he deems necessary. So we have baseball. We have the Elite Eight as we have four more games to decide who goes to the Final Four. It's going to be a very, very much a heavyweight Final Four. It's going to be a very chalky Final Four, no matter who goes. These are all name. I mean, you know, there's no Cinderellas here. You have Duke, you have Alabama, you have Houston, you have Tennessee, you have Florida, you have Auburn, you have Michigan State, even Texas Tech. There are nothing but heavyweights here. This is 8 on the top level. This is the Elite Eight because they are elite, all of them. They're all big time programs. So it should make for some interesting games. As we said, all 4 1 seeds are there. They're favored. I don't have the Sunday lines yet. They haven't come out. I apologize for that. If I were going to guess, I would guess. Here's what I would guess. Um, I would guess Houston 3. I'm either 3 or 3.5 over Tennessee. And I go 3 over Tennessee. And I would go with Auburn by 6.5 over Michigan State. Florida by 7, that we know. Duke by 7, that we know. So I will go those 2. Oh, now we have them. Okay. Auburn is 4.5 and Houston is 3.5. So I was right on Auburn, and I was a little heavy on. I was right on Houston, and I was a little heavy on Auburn. I thought I have to admit that's given Michigan State a lot of respect. Auburn's only 4.5, and Houston's 3.5. So I thought Houston would be probably 5.5. I thought Auburn would be 5.5, 6, and they're 4.5. Might go up, but that's surprising because Florida's 7, Duke is 7. I thought Auburn would be right in the same, just a smidge below. Now it's 4.5, which shows you Michigan State is getting, which is 111 of 12, is getting a lot of respect. Plus, Izzo gets a lot of respect in these games as an underdog because he's been such a dynamic coach for so long. Hard not, I like Pearl a lot. Hard not to root for Izzo though. I don't know if Izzo ever gets here again. I've known both of them a very long time. I don't know the Florida coach. I don't know the Texas Tech coach. I don't know either one of them. The Duke coach, I know John a little bit, not a lot. I don't know the Alabama coach. Houston coach I know pretty well, and I know the Tennessee coach very well. Um, the sentimental favorite there is clearly Izzo. Um, you would like to see him take this team to another Final Four. I don't know how he would feel about where that leaves him at this age now. I think if he won a championship, it'd be a nice way to go out. But you know what? He might not want to go out. He might like what he does. So that's where we are. So Auburn 4.5, Houston 3.5, Duke 7, Florida 7. That's where we are. Mets get a win tonight. Soto gets a home run down in Houston. They even their series at 1-1. They'll be in action tomorrow night. Yankees will be in action tomorrow on what should be a nice day to head on out to the ballpark. I mean, you might get rained on a little bit, drizzled on a little bit, it looks like, but you are going to have a day in the 70s. So a good day to take advantage of. And remember, right around the corner, you know, Final Four. Before you know it, uh, NBA playoffs, hockey playoffs, the Masters right around the corner. So, and the Derby before you know it too. You know that the first Saturday in May. It's not that far away. Don't have a horse. Wish I did. Don't have a 2-year-old this year. I mean a 3-year-old this year. Wish I did. You know, any year you have one is fun, but nope, I don't have one. Trainer Mott has one. He has a good one. He has one of the favorites right now, as a matter of fact, or the favorite. But we don't have one. But hey, still makes it fun anytime you check it out. All right, we will talk to you tomorrow. So have a good night, everybody.